Hi everyone, and welcome to this presentation, which is part of the Dragon's Cave Pre-Accelerator, a growth program for early stage startups organized by the foundation supporting OMGKRK and made possible with the support of Małopolska. Today's topic is leadership and productivity strategies for founders. My name is Paul Kulon. What are my credentials to speak on this topic? I'm the president of the foundation supporting OMGKRK. I've been leading it for a few years now, taking the organization from 0 to 1 and helping it become a benchmark for ecosystem building in Poland. A lot of the content and strategies in this presentation I've tried to implement myself, and I'd like to share it with you. Essentially, I'm going to share strategies that hopefully will make you more efficient and effective in your operations as a founder, which will improve your outcomes and hopefully your mood as well. So let's get right into it. So each founder is their own person, their own individual, and you're going to need to find strategies that work best for you and your team. But I'd like to suggest a technical approach and an equation that essentially says that energy times focus equals productivity. So most of this presentation will focus on breaking down energy and breaking down focus in the pursuit of better outcomes. So let's start with energy. Fundamentals of energy. So I really don't want you to underestimate some of the basics of energy, which are diet, exercise, and sleep. These are really baselines, and you should really think about what you're eating, trying to get some exercise and working out, being in good physical condition to help you be in good mental condition, and also to make sure you're getting enough sleep every night so you feel well rested and you're ready to go every day. Something I want to throw in here right off the bat is good relationships in your private life. Some of your private pursuits and your family should be well aligned to the success of your business and not competing with it. And also being well focused will also help keep up your energy at a high level for longer, because you're actually quite like a battery, reloading every day. And these are some basics and fundamentals that you want to make sure you have in order to be able to focus on your business and growing it. Moving on, let's turn to focus. So what are some strategies that will help increase your focus? Really, focus is a lot about time management, and here your calendar is going to be very helpful. I really suggest a calendar-first approach to time management. Put everything in your calendar. Double-check appointments and potential engagements against your calendar and whether it's looking good with your calendar. The calendar is a key tool in being well-focused, and if you manage your calendar, you manage your time, you'll manage your operations well. Also, master your notifications. Don't let your notifications master you. Is your phone blinking at you right now? It might be. And I really suggest that you turn off or limit much of those notifications. There's a lot competing for your attention, and you need to create the space to implement your agenda. So mastering your notifications is important. Another strategy is the recurring task cycle. So you want to remove the challenge of scheduling by implementing recurring calls and recurring meetings. If you know when something is happening and it's happening on a regular basis, you're in a much better position to focus on it. Writing down tasks is a simple but also critical strategy. You're probably coming up with a lot of things to do, and they can dissipate in the air if you don't write them down in a Google Doc or ideally in a project management tool. But generally, make sure to write down your tasks. Another strategy is batching tasks. So as a founder, you probably have to do a little bit of everything. You need to do marketing, sales, to do product and development, you need to do admin and accounting. And if you're essentially trying to do 30 minutes of this every day, switching segments and subjects over and over, the cost of that on your energy and focus is going to be high, and it's not going to be as efficient as if you were to batch tasks, where essentially every Monday afternoon you focus on a certain type of task, and every Wednesday morning you put together a different types of tasks, and you extend this block of tasks and extend your focus, do some deep work on a particular segment, and then move on. So we're building here that we can batch tasks and also make them reoccurring. You start filling up your calendar, and you start knowing what's going on in your workflow on a more predictable basis. And another thing is to segment tasks, because one task can turn out to be a lot of tasks. For example, you need to make a landing page on your website. So yes, you actually need to go into WordPress or what your website is and make that landing page, but there's also some copy that needs to be written there, some graphic design that needs to be done, a registration form that needs to be created and implemented in the landing page. And you end up actually having 10 tasks within the one broader task. And you want to make sure that you're breaking that task down accurately into different segments to have a better understanding of what actually needs to be done. Another very powerful tool and strategy is that of the template. So a standardized approach to something. And really, templates can be implemented across the spectrum of your tasks. From a meeting agenda, so on a particular meeting, you know that the template for the agenda is 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Every meeting has a similar agenda. Templates can also be in your graphic design, where you have your brand book, and you create graphic templates that will keep you on brand, able to produce more graphic assets quicker if you're using a template. And really, templates can be used everywhere, including a decision-making framework, where if you make a decision on how to make decisions and you stick to that, when a problem or challenge or offer arises, you know exactly which way you're likely to go moving forward. And a beautiful part of the templates is essentially what you need to do is optimize and iterate a template, and this helps you avoid reinvention, which is much more intensive, time and energy consuming. So focus on creating a template and optimizing and polishing that, and try not to be starting from scratch with all your projects, often. What are some other prioritization strategies? So here are 3. So when you're looking at your whole task list day after day, and you see all these tasks, and let's say you have some batch, some are reoccurring, and you're trying to think about what do I need to do? It's very important to constantly be prioritizing your tasks, and 3 ways to do it are, let's say, the most important thing. This tends to be something that's quite urgent and needs to be done now, and this way competes to the top of your task list. Something similar but different is the most impactful thing, meaning what can be done for this project that will make the biggest difference. It's typically more intensive, but these are things you want to focus on to achieve big gains in the project. So there's most important thing, urgent, and most impactful thing, which is more about value. And then finally, the touch it once sort of strategy. I like to call this the quick kick, because there may be tasks, small tasks, medium-sized tasks that are causing a traffic jam in the workflow, and you may be able to touch it once quickly, free up the traffic jam, and move on to other important tasks. So when you're looking at your workload, try to run this exercise. What's the most important thing right now? Or what's the most impactful thing right now? Or what thing can I do right now that will free up the workflow for my team or for this project? Another very important part of being a leader is actually expectations management. Could you imagine a situation where you did a good job, but you had set expectations for doing an outstanding job, and you came up a little bit short and people are disappointed. So you want to make sure that you're spending a lot of time managing expectations. And some strategies to do that are invest time in forecasting. Try to predict the future as accurately as possible, or have, let's say, a template ready in forecasting your KPIs, your decisions, and problem solving. But basically, the closer you are to accurately predicting the future, the better position you're going to be in. So, spend time measuring the KPIs, the outcomes as well. Spend a lot of time forecasting and trying to create an accurate view of what's actually going to happen and achievable over the next week, month, quarter, and so on. First impressions are very important. Day one, when you're hiring somebody, when you're meeting with a third party or service provider or with an investor, you want to create a good impression right off the bat. You want to be prepared, you want to have that conversation well forecasted, and there's really no second chance at the first impression. But let's say the first impression is average or so-so, or it has whatever outcome it has. Typically in your long-term partnerships, let's say with an employee or with a service provider, in the dynamic world of small, medium enterprises, startups, things change dynamically all the time. So something you also want to do is set up established times to update expectations. Whether this is your monthly review meeting or otherwise, you essentially want to create off-ramps for current expectations into new expectations to, let's see, not be bound by outdated expectations. So for sure, establish times where you can update where the project is, what's reasonable, what the forecast is, and for these to be obvious to all parties moving forward. Another pro tip is, even if you're a great forecaster and you have experience, be aware things are often 15% more than what you think. So by this I mean the project will probably take 15% more time than what you forecasted, and that the cost of the project are going to be 15% more than what you forecast. This is some sort of safety mechanism, because if you're 100% confident in your forecast, and let's say your profit margin is 15% and your forecast was incorrect, and we apply this 15% more rule, these can wipe out your margins and really decrease your energy and mess up your focus. So really give yourself an additional buffer to avoid that. So make as good a forecast as possible and create a forecasting buffer and expectations buffer that actually includes this sort of 15% more rule. So that's a little bit about managing expectations. So I want to give a sort of tool and framework on how to forecast or place projects in this effort time impact graph. So we have effort along the bottom, starting from low effort to high effort, and impact in the vertical going from low impact to high impact. And I made 4 quadrants out of this. So we're starting at, let's say, low effort, low impact projects, which should be your proof of concepts and MVPs, things that don't take that much time, will also not have that much impact, but this is your testing area. See what works, see what works. As we move into higher effort, lower impact, this is what you really want to avoid. If something's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and a lot of stress, and the outcomes are going to be bad, the impact is going to be low, this is your most inefficient area, and stay away from that, or only if you have to do something in there, do it. But make sure you're avoiding the high effort, low impact quadrant. One of the really interesting quadrants and the sort of investment quadrant is the things that will be high effort and high impact. So here I put 2 examples of human capital development, so essentially training, managing, growing the skills of your team, and also, let's say, software development, which also takes long, has a lot of bugs, is stressful, a lot of effort, but is also an investment in your product or your service. So this is what we're looking at, the impact and effort quadrant. This is where you want to place your big projects and make sure those are the strategic ones to your business and venture. And another thing is what you really want is for your high effort, high impact projects to then move into the low effort, high impact quadrant. So here, let's say the outcome of your human capital development is your team now has a self-managed person that requires a lot less effort from you to manage. Or let's say you have a scalable product that's approaching product market fit and you can scale up a little bit on this product. So, when you have a project in your pipeline or you're trying to make some prioritizations, do try to use this effort time impact graph and see where that project lands on this graph. I hope that's helpful for you. Moving forward, something that I'm sure many teams struggle with, founders struggle with, and something that would be fantastic for everyone is moving from update-based to outcome-based. And here I basically mean calls and meetings. So moving from an update-based call to an outcome-based call is implementing that, let's say the meeting agenda is known, the material is reviewed and prepared, the desired outcomes are established, and here's the kicker, all this is done in advance of the call or the meeting and not during it. Because how many times are we in a meeting and let's say there may be an agenda, we're not exactly sure, people are prepared, maybe they're not prepared, and after 30 or 45 minutes you can approach the desired outcomes of the meeting, and essentially you spend all the time on sort of updating and syncing, and the project that you're working on actually doesn't move forward at all. So this is a lot of work, particularly on leadership, to put in the work ahead of the time, create that meeting agenda, leverage your template, leverage the reoccurring task schedule, because if you know the agenda, when the meeting is going to happen, you can focus on which materials are necessary and what are the desired outcomes of the meeting. And it's a great feeling to come out of a meeting where you've actually achieved your desired outcomes. Your energy typically goes up after a productive and great meeting where you feel that the project has really moved forward and you know who's doing what next. So try to move, and it's difficult, from update-based calls and meetings to outcome-based calls and meetings. So another thing is that you're probably receiving a lot of advice. Here I'm giving you some additional advice. You may have a mentor, may not. There's a lot of content that you're consuming. But essentially, I highly suggest that you find some mantras, decision-making, founder approach mantras that work for you. These can be something like better done than perfect. If you're an early stage startup and this is where you are in the project, you want to adopt the mantra that I want to release this instead of polishing it. And that's basically where I am. There's plenty of other mantras. You've probably picked them up along the way at things you've read and things you've seen. But basically, I'd really encourage you to identify some of these mantras. They can be very basic. They can even be cliches. They should be simple. And in times of uncertainty, when you have a difficult decision to make, and you have to make that quickly, you want to default to some of these mantras to help you make that decision. And if this is a mantra you truly believe in, that you're implementing, you'll feel good about making the decision the way you had. So trigger these mantras in times of uncertainty. Now, in conclusion, really, what is the best way to lead? What's a proven way to do it? And I believe that the best way to lead is by example. The culture of your organization starts with you as a founder. It starts at the top. The way you work, the way you operate, the way you prepare, the way you lead will trickle down through the entire organization. So no one's going to work harder than you. No one's going to take it more seriously. No one's going to be more professional. It starts with you as a founder. So that's it for me. Thank you. If you want to reach out to me, Paweł at omgkrk.com. Thanks.